Well, I got all the stuff in for this new 3DS, and I mean, I already have one of the pieces on, which is the faceplate, and ooh, looks pretty slick with everything on. Now, I think one of the reviews said that the back shell was a little hard to put on, and I didn't really have that experience. I mean, it was a tiny bit tough at one spot, but it wasn't that bad. I mean, it's better than it being bare. I also popped in its new battery to get it charged. I mean, it's going to be a third-party battery. I don't expect the world from it. I didn't even power the thing on to see if it works. But it took a charge, charged for quite a bit of time, so I'm somewhat confident in it. So what I ended up getting was the thumbstick and the split washer that goes around the thumbstick. Then I found the hole washers, the ones that go behind the split washer stick. These are the screw covers. I have a screw kit to hopefully find a place for these two missing screws, as well as the home button, and depending on the performance of the home button, if I'm not too happy with it, I did buy the friction fit ZIF connectors. So I'll have those on standby just in case. Initial testing suggested that just me bending it back was good enough, but I'll just keep those on standby. Um, I mean, I suppose. Oh, I put my screwdriver set over there. Okay, I'll just use this one. Grab the last remaining tri-wing. I can use it as a reference for whichever one in here works. I may just even replace them all with Phillips. There's no, well, I might as well keep the original one in there. There's really no reason for me not to. It's just going to make it a little more confusing when taking this thing apart. What's a little annoying about the home button is it's all the way below the motherboard, all the way below the frame for the back screen, so I'm gonna have to pop all that off. But all part of the fun. There it goes. Hang on. This mounting pad is not connected to anything for this plug. Ooh, I'm glad I caught that. I would have ripped this thing right off. I just lifted it and like the whole thing kind of contorted. I'm like, is that just like a trick of the light? I might be able to do that with my iron. Curious. I wonder if me heating it up kind of softened it and there just maybe was just not enough solder that it just sort of ripped free or something. Ooh, glad I caught that. Make sure not to pop that latch off again. these super duper Super Nintendo long boys off. Yeah, because the split washer goes around this piece, I think just to keep dust out. And then that washer will sit right here to sort of act as a barrier between the actual circle pad. I used my Dremel a little last night. Used the wire wheel that was on it, and it just shed those. It just shed that wire wheel like a motherfucker. Like, Jesus Christ. Just shot little wires everywhere. I had to buy a new one. Half of it was gone when I was done. Anyway, there should be 2 motherboard screws. Put those in the corner up there. I don't remember if I need to take out the D-pad. I know I can keep the... Oops, grabbing it by the game. Grabbing it by the game card slot and D-pad. That's the term I was looking for. Okay, I'll have to address that. I had no idea that power coupling was so loose. I had to have loosened it when I soldered it. There's really no other reason for me to believe. I should be using these channels up here. Kind of what they're made for. They're just not that very deep. Those are all for the same game card slot. Okay, so I should be good to put in the home button. I'll put this aside. I'm just going to do that first because I'm kind of gung-ho about it right now. Now again, I'm not really too pleased I need to do this. This would definitely be the least enjoyable part of working on these consoles, aside from trying to find a replacement top screen. And I mean, I really like working on these dual screen consoles, but the replacement part market is just not good. I mean, I've spent quite a bit of money on replacement screen parts, and I've only ever been happy with like 90% of a DSi screen order. Ended up getting a DSi XL screen order that was just, they were just mostly garbage. They all had, I think maybe just a couple screens were ended up being usable, and a lot of them had issues with dead pixels and yellowing of all things, debris between the screen layers, just frankly unacceptable quality. And I mean, I've gotten replacement screens for my new 2DS and my 3DS XL, both of which have issues. Either there's like a dark patch on my new 3DS or my new 2DS XL screen. I think there's dead pixels on my 3DS XL screen. Just garbage. It's just all garbage, so I have to use OEM, and that's a pretty expensive endeavor. And I mean, above my screen is kind of the remnants of some DSi XL parts, as well as the remnants of a Wii U, which I've been starting to work on. I guess the problem with the Wii U is the profit margins aren't really that great, and the tablets are very expensive. The base units are very easy to find for very cheap. I really don't like removing the screen because I feel like I have to bend it. The famous words of jerry rig everything, glass is glass, and glass breaks. Alright. Put that aside. So, I mean, it kind of has to go like this, right? What's interesting is it looks like there's holes for little pegs. Well, all I know is it can't go this way. So it has to go... There's only one way for this thing to go in. It has to be this way. And then I reverse the... Probably have to fold it right there. I'll just kind of fold it with the frame. I should be able to snap the screen in, and it should tell me pretty quickly if I did this right. But I mean, it is not really wanting to fit in here very well. I'm really curious to know. This might even be the wrong one, which wouldn't really surprise me. See if I have any context clues. No, it's just flat. Let me see what I ordered. I'm fairly certain this is the wrong one. I might want to look at my... See if I can look at what my home button looked like on my other new 3DS. Because I didn't compare them based on how they looked, but I should have. I mean, I needed to buy a new camera unit for my new 3DS XL. I had to go through about 4 or 5 different camera units because they kept sending me the new 3DS camera unit. So for them to just completely send me the wrong thing is not too terribly surprising. But these buttons are pretty simple, but I need them to fit, and fit really nice. So... Here it is, new 3DS XL. Because I know I tried my other home button just to make sure it was good. This was me just reassembling it. Can I show a better picture of it, please? Interesting. Okay, it almost looks like the little... It almost looks like on mine from my white one, it almost looks like this is clipped off. So let me... I want it to fit in here really nicely, so I'm gonna have to be careful with how much I clip off. There's no circuit over here, so it's gonna be... Interesting. It really is having a hard time fitting in this recess. So I'll make the pretty bold assumption this was not made for this console, but I think I should be able to modify it for it to work. Just how do I want to go about doing that? Without outright destroying it. Just slice off like how much? Try that. Okay, there we go. So what I ended up doing is having to slice into it. It's just going to be friction fit, so I didn't really mean to pop it out like that, but I just put like a V-notch in the PCB a little, so it's a deeper recess, because right over here there's like an angled bit of, or there's like a jutting piece of plastic that I'm just sort of fitting that recess in. Now it looks like it's pretty square on the membrane, so I mean, it's not going to be perfect. But let's just see. If there's any fitment issues, I'll address it. But it does kind of fit there pretty nicely. Okay, I'm not covering anything. That doesn't feel good either. What I mean by that is just clipping the screen back in. I don't like doing it. It's putting pressure on a piece of glass. Okay, it clips in pretty nicely. How does it feel? Yeah, that's perfectly acceptable. I don't think I necessarily need to voltage test it. I don't think I will. It's brand new. It better work. If it doesn't work, I'm in trouble, and no amount of me probing it right now is going to change that. But that is a connector I'm worried about, so I'll just do it right now. Will be a little hard to do. Probably just shed my big probe, because the ground is going to be covering a lot of different pads, and I also need to have access to Did I think it was going to be this janky when I first tried it? Absolutely not. Okay, I think this is the positive. Maybe I don't need to hold it down, I just want to make sure it's making really good contact. And every time I push against it, it goes down. You know what? I'm just gonna trust that it works. I can test it when I get it a little more together, maybe even in the connector. Accidentally turned on the light on my multimeter and I wanted to turn it off. Golly, here's another piece of my Dremel wire wheel gone. Okay, that's good. Let me get this connector soldered back on. What a weird thing. I mean, I've seen these connectors break off on people on DSi consoles, and I've always wondered, like, how on earth did you manage to do that? Like, unless you're lifting with the connector, but I mean, I feel like I know what I'm doing, and this happened to me. Because these are connectors at least I'm familiar with. This might be kind of a hard angle to get to, but yeah, right here you can kind of see it. It's just not even connected to this mounting point. I don't know what that was. It kind of looked like a hair. So I'm going to have to get kind of a weird angle on it to see. I think it's just going to be me. Yeah, you can kind of see it bouncing. I wonder what all that... that might just be reflections that I'm looking at. It's not like damage or anything. Like, it almost looks like crud, but yeah, it's a reflection. Okay. Let me get my iron. I'm gonna need a really tiny tip for this. It is a ground pin. So hopefully it doesn't need too much heat. It does. Not exactly screwed, but make it a little more difficult. Didn't think I'd be doing any soldering today. So I'm like heavily caffeinated. Okay, hold it down. I probably don't want to connect it to this test pad. But I'll deal with the test pad later. Just soak up that solder. Or I don't care if it's there, I just don't want them connected. Did that do it? It's a little hard to tell. Where is it? Nope. I need to heat it from the back. Am I gonna melt anything heating it from the back? Nope. Problem I'm getting is I don't think I can get underneath that little plastic lip without just completely melting it. So what I want to do is get a tiny bit of solder paste in there. Should be able to just jam a couple solder balls. I can even lift it up with my sewing needle and just deposit a lot of solder balls under there. Be a little gentler on my heat. There it goes. The heat gun wasn't heating. It looked like it worked. I'm just gonna have to wait until I can look at it a little better. Try and get any of the remaining solder paste soaked up. Or at least like congregated. Even if it's on those test pads, it'll be fine. As long as they're not connected to anything. I'll let it cool down and get a better look at it. Yeah, what? Weird. I'm glad I spotted that, but it's weird I didn't spot that before. I guess because memory serves, I never took it back apart after I confirmed that the ZIF connector was at least good enough to sort of sit until I could get my parts, like, nearly a month later. Good old AliExpress. I guess in the meantime I can grab more of my Dremel tool sheddings. That's a lot better. Ooh. Camera was in the way of my scrubbing. Oh. Oh. Another shed? Oh. Oops, wrong spot. Didn't harm anything by heating the back of the board. That's always good. All right. Let's see what we got here. It almost looks like it's a bit cockeyed. That kind of explains why. But, I mean, it's weird because I didn't mount it like that. I didn't even mount it at all. What if it, like, just, like, drifted? But yeah, it's not levering up. I should probably make sure these back pads are connected. They look like they are, but I mean, it just looks a little strange. It doesn't matter if it's a little cockeyed as long as it's connected and it's firm. I wonder if I accidentally bumped it when I was reflowing these connectors. So let me grab just like the back of this pad. Connected. This is just ground. Connected. Okay, yeah, that's, I mean, I'll spend a little more time scrubbing on it. But I have no reason to doubt it. Grab my stiffer brush to get around, to get underneath the connector a little. I do need to make sure that it's not connected to this test pad. It doesn't look like it is. But I'm going to check out either way. Oh, I'm testing. I think this is just the ground. Nope, it's not connected. And yeah, these posts are just connected to ground. My bet is I just couldn't get underneath them with my iron, even though my iron's really small. I'm just not able to get underneath it without melting it or like putting it on like a pedestal of solder. Alright, weird. Little diversion. I didn't expect that, but glad I caught it. Get the microscope turned off. I don't need it. I mean... kind of reconfigure here. I don't want to deal with a big wet spot, so go back to here. Okay. Let's get back to the console at hand. Now I need to get my old circle pad off because it's kind of the wrong color. So somewhat, I kind of want them to match. That was kind of my spare that I had, and I have the I bought the darker one. Doesn't exactly match, I mean, but only so much I can glean from pictures, so I think it's just going to be good enough. It's brand new. Okay, then I need to get the flat split washer. And just kind of spin it on. Voila, there we go, split washer's on. And then I just need the full washer. I'm kind of surprised I found these, really. I guess I can put my old thumbstick in here. Put these in my parts bin. Alright, let's get everything back together. What I am missing is my sharp angle tweezers. They have been spirited away. I will make do. It'll appear when it means to. Let me open this up all the way so I get a little extra length on my ribbon cables to play with. Oh, that popped off. We'll deal with that later. What I do like about these consoles is these ribbon cables go on without any fuss. And I've grown to appreciate these style of ribbon cables. These like golden, whatever material this is. Because let me tell you, after dealing with these types of ribbon cables on PS4 controllers. I hate these. I hate these so much. Not only are they fragile, like this one lost a piece on the end, so it doesn't really sit in the recess very well. These little pins will fold back on themselves. I don't know if the adhesive is just crap or something. That doesn't look right. There we go, that's better. So even though I don't like these style of ribbon cables either because they're very fragile, especially compared to these are going to be very robust, at least along the ribbon. It's just the contact points are awful. Like almost unacceptable type of quality. If I had anything to say about it. Why aren't you wanting to sit down? What am I caught on? Oh, because the bottom screen's not on all the way. There we go. That's better. Okay. Since I have it open, I'll just get the camera in. Weird how they opted for one of these like lever connectors for the digitizer versus the sort of friction fit connectors. Well, I think a lot of these friction fit connectors are like low stakes, and I think they're just two contacts where the lever ziffs are four contact. Oh, okay. I did feel that go in, so that does give me some amount of confidence. I sort of pushed and pushed, and then I felt it kind of click in. That one didn't really slide in that hard, but it's not going to slide out. Let me get some screws in this so I'm not just sort of jiggling this thing around. Do I need to actually put in... Do I need to put this in first? I think it would probably be easier, even if I just, like, placed it in. I'll get to actually screwing it in a little later. And then what I want to do is run a series of tests on this console. Now, I've never done testing on a 3DS. Not at least to the same extent that I've done with Nintendo DSi's. So I can't exactly say my test will be fully adequate, but at least on a baseline, it should cover most of the system's functions. And I'll have to just be a little creative when it comes to some of the new 3DS features. Specifically meaning like either the 3D viewing screens or the 3DS games themselves. I'm gonna have to kind of find not so much a sacrificial game cart, but one that I don't mind plugging into the game cart slot a few times. Judging by the condition of this console when I got it, everything should work, and I know I did an initial round of testing, and it all fared very, very nicely. I just want to make sure. This would technically be the second round of testing. And then I think just for shits and giggles, I'm going to do a battery test on it, just to see how far this replacement battery goes. I don't know the baseline for new 3DS batteries, so I'm always going to assume third-party batteries underperform, but it's better than no battery. Just kind of where my attitude is on that. I mean, I'll see it on Reddit every once in a while for people looking for like the best battery for DSIs, and it's like, well, the best battery for a DSI is the one that works. And if you're really worried about battery life over a long distance, just bring a charging bank. I mean, those batteries only lasted maybe 4 hours under stress test, and if you're expecting to go longer than 4 hours without a wall plug, get a battery bank. It still doesn't feel like it's resting down, but I think it's just the ribbon cables pushing it up. Especially that display ribbon that it has, I have kind of bend it, or it has a bend in it. It's not me bending it. Alright, let's get this washer. No, I noticed there's like a matte side and a glossy side. I'm gonna assume the glossy side is far slippery, more slippery, I should say, so I'm gonna put that down. Kind of getting a little ahead of myself. I need to plug this into the ribbon cable connector. Went sideways. Okay, let me deal with this first. Trying to juggle two things at once. Okay. Seem to have done it. I'll have to test that. It does feel a little odd. I think, yeah, I still have my new 3DS kicking around, so I can do a comparative test. Just on like the off chance that maybe that recess inside the new thumbstick isn't molded very well, so I have to kind of like force it on, make my own recess, so to speak. Okay, so everything fit together really nicely. I'm not too worried about that. I am going to just take a moment to actually test the thing. Make sure it turns on. I didn't forget any vital connectors. I didn't break a ribbon cable. My home button works. Things of that sort. Little Lego connectors are nice when they go in the first time. There we go. I really don't like this one though. Sometimes it lines up pretty perfectly, but other times not so much. Okay. It's not... or it's good enough to test. Be the first time turning it on with this new battery. I don't have the SD card in. Kind of want it in if I can. Yeah, let me plug it in. It'll help navigating the homebrew menus. It's really not too much of a bother to plug it in. And this 128, I'm not going to be shipping with this console. It's a little too big. I have other uses for a card that big. Mainly Nintendo Switches. I'd be curious to see if there were any efforts to... oh, turned off. It's entirely possible I shifted the shell on accident. Ooh. What did I not plug in for it to be doing this? It is popping off. Let me remove the SD card. Alright. That's most likely a display issue. Maybe one of the ribbons kind of slid out when I was putting it in. A little irritating, but I mean, nothing obvious. Hmm. Thankfully, it's just 2 screws. It just feels like I forgot something, but I don't see any that I forgot. See if that's in there. See if I can take this off without popping the connector off. Yeah, just as I'd expect. Oh, I guess I will have to remove the thumbstick in order to sort of lever everything up. See exactly what's going on. Just gonna disconnect all this stuff as well. Now, I actually don't know what kind of bare condition Or what sort of the minimal condition I need, or the minimal plugs I need to put into this thing for it to work. I have kind of figured that out with the DSi. It's really not that much. But I know these 3DSs kind of display different issues. Let me just unplug this so I don't break anything. I can deal with it later if it comes to it. Curious. Everything is plugged in. And I know it worked before I took the motherboard out, so there's no way I would have ripped it. Okay. Let me try and see if I can get a bare life scenario. Plug in only what's absolutely necessary. Omitting the rest until I can get this thing sort of in a power state. Or in a state I know it turns on. I think this plug over here is the NFC. I don't need it. I don't even think I need this long ribbon cable. Plug into power. I am somewhat curious to see kind of what I need to do to plug this thing in. If it's anything like a DSi, this, and then the two displays are the only ones I need. So we'll see what happens. I don't have to plug in the shoulders, but I do have to plug in this power button. Battery? Hopefully this battery isn't bad. Oh, maybe I need to plug in that data line. Okay. I thought maybe the power plug was all that was needed. I can always try the battery out of my console. Just on the off chance that I just got a bung battery. That's the only, like, real significant factor here is this battery. No, still popping off. Let me try the other battery then. This is very strange. Now, the battery that I have is the actual official one. And I mean, the bottom screen might need the LCD in order to turn on. Oh, is this battery dead? Hello? I did kind of suspect that maybe my 3DS had a, like, almost like a parasitic drain. Or it's possible when I turned it off, I didn't actually turn it off and it was just sitting in standby. Oh. Okay. Yeah, no, this battery's dead. Can I at least get it to turn on? No, it's exhibiting the same behavior. Very audibly popping off. Wonder if I broke the bottom screen by levering it off the way I did, which honestly wouldn't really surprise me. That construction is very kind of not good. Like, I never really fully understood how something that egregious can make it through QA. I would have rejected immediately. But these are not meant to be fixed. They're meant to be thrown away, and you buy a new one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wipe off the ends of the ribbon cables. That feed the top screen. And if I have to start swapping parts to find out what's wrong, I will. I really don't want to, but I will. I would be very surprised if I tore a ribbon cable. But, I mean... I'd be surprised in the sense that I wasn't really that hard on it. I know these things are fragile. I know very much from experience, but... It's so fragile that just unplugging it and plugging it back in, the matter that I've been doing it, has been detrimental to it, to the point of it not turning on. But I don't know enough about 3DSs to say. It's possible it's like a completely other issue, and this is just how the console is relaying a problem in its sort of vague and uncertain way. It's not spitting me an error code, it's just saying pop. I'm going to plug everything in, the exception of the circle pad. I don't think that's going to be critical for booting. Maybe the LCD display does need to be connected for the new 3DS. I don't exactly want to test variables if I don't even know if this thing will turn back on. It'd be rather unfortunate if it doesn't. I'd hate to have killed one. Killed a new 3DS. But if this 3DS needs to know one thing, I am very persistent. Okay, everything but the circle pad is connected. Alright. Well, that's all I need to know. I did kind of notice the camera was just, like, very slightly cockeyed. That could have been it. I can't really say for certain, though. I really don't know why it was doing that. It wasn't cockeyed enough for me to think, like, oh, this is obviously not making good contact. But, not questioning it. Alright, so let's get the 2 screws down and get the circle pad back on. I believe I have testing software on the homebrew, so that will be kind of nice. I'm not going to remove the homebrew. I don't know enough about it. It probably is safe to remove, but the last thing I want to deal with is trying to figure out homebrew on this thing and remove it safely without bricking this thing. That's the last thing I want to do. But thankfully all the hard work is done for whomever gets this console. So all they have to do is sort of reread the guide. I'll be sure to provide information. At least point towards the guide and then just like, well, figure it out. If you have any problems, there's a few resources. There's smart people you can talk to who are very familiar with this stuff. Maybe even created the stuff. Well, 3DS, I hope this is the last time I open you. Nope, missed. Better. Nice. Everything's plugged in. Okay. Then I need to look upon my resources to see what adequate replacement screws for this SD card slot would be. Make sure it measures right. Like, it is a screw kit for a new 3DS XL, which I'm not gonna say I remember correctly. I'm pretty sure that this SD card slot is very unique to this console. Or maybe it isn't. I don't remember. It's been a while since I pulled apart a new 3DS XL. Okay. All that fits nicely together. Let's get this in, and then I'll look upon my resources. Ooh, a little bit of rubbing alcohol on it. Just make sure I don't have any. One way to clean it, I suppose. I'll plug in the I won't plug it in yet. I want to make sure I get a good comparison. So this Y wing screw is a 3mm silver screw. It's an M1.4. Let me look at my resources I have for the new 3DS XL third-party screw kit. Okay. So an M 1.4 3mm screws. And it did not come with one. Like there's an M1.5 3.5mm screws. Oh, it is a 3.5mm screws, but it's a 1.4. There's 7 of them. All 000 recess. Because the only 1.4 screws I have are 6 and 8mm. Let me check. If not, I can break into some of my other screw kits to see if I have them. There's some that look like they're close, but I don't want close. I think this might be it. What color were they? They were black screws? So they were these black screws. Let me see if I can caliper one. I'm not going to assume these things are like actually perfectly measured. So this is 3.5. So the length is right. I don't think the... Yeah, these are 1.5. I mean... So 1.5, that does match my measurements. I only did with the measurements on one screw and a selection. Like I have, there should be 7 of those black screws in here. Yeah, these are M1.4, so it's 0.2 millimeters wider. So I need to find. So surprisingly, a new 3DS XL screw kit does not have the screws for a new 3DS XL. At least the one that I need. Let me check my other screw kits for the other brand or the other console types. I have the normal 3DS and the DS Lite. And the 3DS XL, I should say, as well. I have one more... I technically have one more new 3DS XL screw kit to look at, but at least from this brand, they don't have the one I need. So let's go back. I'll try the DS Lite first. So that's kind of the next in line. So I need a 1.4. Nothing in there. What about the 3DS XL? 1.4, 3.5. Oh, there is one for the new 3DS XL. There's a 1.4 3.6 millimeters. Sweet. So the DS Lite has a screw kit, or a screw and a screw kit that I can use. And you know what? This is kind of exactly what I wanted to find out. See if any of these screw kits were worth a damn. Okay, where was it? Should be in here. Should be this one right here. Lite. The DS Lite is unique in that it has a... Just the shoulder button spring assembly is very unique. As it's kind of like that winged spring with legs that kind of grip on to something. So this is from AAA Accessory Store on AliExpress. There should be 9 of these screws in here. I only need 2. This does not look like 9. I know I've been having problems with some of these shitty little bags having holes in them, so I'm wondering if that's what happened. May have lost a few. Oh well. I have about 1, 2, 3, 4. I have DSI Excel screws over here. Did they get mixed up? I sure do hope not. No, they didn't. So I may have accidentally integrated them with one of my other screw kits. But when I originally looked at it, I had 9. I mean, I have 5, so I don't know what happened to the other couple. So let's see. I'm thinking it's these ones. What I'm looking for is 3.5. Close enough. And 1.4 recess. Or 1.4 thread diameter. So I don't harden the recess. Now what I didn't check if these are like, depending on the thread. 1.7. Oh boy. So not that one. 1.7. What happened to all of my screws? Oh, I'm stupid. I don't know what distracted me, but I already checked the DS Lite documentation, and those don't work. They're way too big, as I'm finding out. Oh, again, I already did this test. I need the new 3DS, or the 3DS XL. Which are these? That was a weird flub. Just completely brain farted that. Now this looks like an adequate quantity. One, two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I think. Right? Oh, 9 right there. Okay, cool. So I wasn't going crazy. So it's going to be one of these screws that I drop on my lap. So they need to be 3.5. Oh, 3.9. Is this just like an abnormally... I know some of these screws have burrs on the end when they were machined. Or that may have been... Is there like a 3.9 millimeter screw? No. The one I measured was 3.6. 3.9? Maybe that one was just abnormally small. And these are all 4 millimeter screws. Or... I didn't do my due diligence, and there's a 3.5 and a 4 millimeter screw. So it's not 9 of the same screw, it's... Or maybe these, instead of me rounding down, I should have rounded up. Very curious. 373. If I can find my 365, my 363 again, I would say that purely small amount of difference. But I think I might have to change my measurement to 3.8 millimeter, not 3.6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So here's the 9th one. I wonder if this is the one I tested. Or no, I would have sampled from JCD All-Store first. So these are more 3.8 millimeters. So I'm going to add that to my records. So these ones... Oh, I have 2 pages. These are more 3.8 millimeter recess. Alright, let me look at the 3DS. Kind of my last hope. I could probably look for short screws of these. Just find the shortest ones. Oh, the new 3DS, or the 3DS has 3.3 millimeter recesses. Okay. Let's try this again. I guess that is sort of the fault of me only measuring one screw, but I would go a little insane if I tried measuring every single screw. So I decided not to. I just got a sample screw, not taking an average. Because the measurement of one should represent the group adequately enough. Like, I'm not creating manufacturing specifications. These are just close measurements that can be used as reference. So let's see what I got here. 3ds XL, DS Lite. This should be the 3ds. Yes. So there should be a screw in this kit. How many? A ton. What brand is this from? This is the Yuxi store. There should be 6 of them in here. They are black screws. Okay. I mean, that's a little annoying as they won't match, but it might be these two right. I'll just try these two right here. So, 3.3 millimeter screws. They're about 0.2 millimeters smaller. Let me check again. And that, I mean, it's benign. Oh. Yeah, 3 millimeters shorter. I thought that screw leaned a little closer to 3.5. 1.4 recess. So these are perfect replacements. Well, they're not Y recess, but beggars can't be choosers. And these screw kits only come with cross recess screws. So I will just use what I have. It's just going to be a little annoying to whatever poor schmupp has to pull this thing apart for whatever reason, which hopefully never. I hope it stays together forever. But I'm not going to say that it won't need maintenance or cleaning at one point. These are all, should be double recess, or double zero recess. See how well they fit. Not very well, but they work. Threading is about the same, but it's possible the geometry is different. These black screws don't want to bite into the existing threads, so I think I'm kind of having to carve my own, which is not necessarily a good feeling. Especially not in plastic, as that will strip out. But what it will be is secure. Hopefully, assuming it's not pulled apart a whole bunch of times, won't be a problem. Oh, this is Y recess. I'm like, why the hell is it not grabbing on my driver? I don't even know why Nintendo bothered. Like, why did they put 3 tri-wing or like Y recess screws? It doesn't make any sense. You don't even have to take these off to get into the console. Oh, that was unfortunate. I left a little bit of a light mark. Oh, it kind of rubbed away. Okay. Good enough. Still have to get in all of the rear shelf screws. I need to see if there's like a 3DS specific battery tester. I was just going to use the one that I used for the DSi consoles. I think that's just a generic DS battery tester. Functionally speaking, it should just function as a stress test just in like DS mode. I think the only thing I'm worried about is 3DS games do run a lot. I would assume they run a lot more power. So if I were to represent a battery life for a DS game, that is not in any way going to represent a 3DS title. Plus, I should probably do it with the 3D fully on. So what I might do is like leave it on a menu that cycles an animation, be it like a Zelda game or maybe like Fire Emblem or something, anything that plays like a movie or sits on a static screen and then transitions to like some type of like piece of content. Okay. Now I saw reviews that this thing doesn't really snap on. It does. It doesn't really snap on very nicely. I have to kind of push on a little, but it does clip in. These screws don't really go in that nicely. Well, I'm saying that I think it's just those heads don't sit as flat as I remember. It's not a problem, it's just observation. Let me go get my 3DS games. I'm gonna need those in order to test. I guess in the meantime I can put this thing on the charger, because when I want to do my battery test, I'm gonna have to make sure it's fully charged, and then I'll have to immediately unplug it and start the battery test. It is charging, so I didn't damage the charging circuit with my resolder. Okay, I need to look at my little paperwork that I left for this thing. Oh boy. Reattach last latch on digi connector, remove ribbon cable end and superglue from home connector. Connector was also bent down to facilitate contact. Replace C-stick and circle pad rubbers. Place home button and battery. Added third-party plates and stylus. Let me say added 2 screws. Added 2 missing SD slot cover screws. From third-party kit. I'm kind of surprised I didn't mention that it's homebrewed. Well, I knew that. This is the only new 3DS I'm working on, so I don't exactly have to remember that. Let me see if there's a battery tester I can download for the 3DS. Because if I do sit idle on a game, I'm gonna have to time it and watch it. Basically, plop it in front of my face while I'm doing something, and kind of have to glance down on it every half an hour or so just to make sure that it's still functioning, and I'll just have to round it. Where the battery tester for the DSi, it has a timer going, and the second the console shuts off, it records that timer. Or more that it sort of sits on, or it sort of logs the time every 5 seconds or so, or was it every five? The specifics don't matter. But it will log it. So when it shuts off, it'll take the last known logged time and display it, which it is rounded. There's a couple different websites that host 3DS homebrew applications. Game Brew is kind of my favorite. 3D Battery Mark, formerly named 3D Battery Checker, is a homebrew application that allows you to check your 3DS battery. Oh, wonderful. Um, oh, fantastic. Okay, this will be very nice. So I need to download it as a CIA file and install it. I can launch it via a homebrew launcher. Okay, I'm not super familiar with 3DS homebrew, like I already said. So if I can just launch it without installing it, that would be amazing, because installing it's a bit of a pain. Even though I just put this thing on, I'm gonna have to take it back off. And this will just be for later. I don't necessarily have to do this right now, but I mean, I'm thinking about it. It gives this console a chance to charge, even though it should have been pretty much fully charged. Alright. Now give me sort of an opportunity to learn the homebrew a little better. So I put it in the 3DS folder? I mean, I'll try. I'll add the CIA file to this SD card as well. Alright. Yeah, it really doesn't like... I really kind of have to force it to clip down right there, so it might... it might be partially due to these weird screws that they have. But once I screw it down, it sits. I just think they sit. Maybe it's not like clipped on the C-clip very well. Okay, let's get this thing turned on. Give it a sort of a gross check of systems. Grab a microfiber cloth. Clear off all my smudges. So there should just be the homebrew launcher. Homebrew launcher by many people. I mean, oh, okay, cool. So I can just like boot software. Battery mark ranking, battery mark settings, language, LCD control, font, wireless, advanced settings, battery, screen recording. Weird. Oh, start and stop. Okay. Curious. I'll have to play with this later. Or home button? Oh yeah, home button worked. I'll play with that later. So let me do some. I know I have a tester, right? I think it might be this. So there's going to be a few tests that I'm somewhat familiar with. I just want to test buttons, for one. Especially like the circle pad and stuff. So here's the entire screen. I'll just do what I kind of do for the DSi. Press all the face buttons a few times, see how well they react. Good, and then for the little nipple, I do a full rotation, see if I can hit all the axes. I can hit all the directionals. Now I did replace this with a new one because I think the older one was stiff and it was a little hard to hit the directional axes. Or I think there was like one direction that was really hard to hit, but as I sort of circle it around, it's responding. D-pad, I have to kind of zoom in because all these buttons are really small. Well, zoom in, just me holding it closer. And for the circle pad, yeah, it feels good. Now, the shoulder buttons, at least on the DSi, are usually kind of a pain. I really don't like that they made these buttons really small. It's a little hard to see them. And it's possible that just later revisions of the 3DS just made these shoulder buttons a lot more tolerable. But all the inputs look like they work. Home button. Hell yeah, look at that. So let me go to... I want to test the touch screen, so I have this is a DS Pico. Oh, the game card slot. It's a little strange. Sees it immediately. It's a good sign. And I could test the game card slot with my intimidating stack of DS carts that I use for my DSi. The problem is this is a 3DS, so I want to use the 3DS card for it, not DS cards, because I actually don't know if the pins, like if there's additional pins with 3DS carts. But I would rather not risk missing out on, or missing a pin, or missing something that would be detrimental, because I didn't thoroughly test this thing. I think Mario Kart 7 is going to be my sacrificial 3DS cart. I say that kind of in almost like a grandiose fashion. I'm not sacrificing it, but I will be sort of using it as a tester, and that's just putting a lot of unnecessary friction on pins. Okay. Alright, I put it in here. So the application I opened will allow me to turn the entire bottom screen into a sketchpad, which I really like for the DS, and it looks like for the 3DS I can still utilize the entire touchpad. So I'm just going to do a perimeter, and what I'm looking for is dead zones. Now, the kind of like squiggly line at the bottom, that's more or less normal. And I'm going to do circle inputs and kind of feel what the texture of the screen is. The screen has a screen protector on, and I'm not seeing anything wrong. So dead zones are if I were to drag down and there'd be like a bubble, or like usually in some of the extreme cases it's like that. So I would be dragging along down here, and this is the zone where it would be registering, and everything in here would be dead. But I have no problems. I'll kind of reference my... I'm kind of going off script based on how I usually do tests. This is my assessment form for the DSi. It's not exactly going to be a one-to-one comparison, but I tested the power board, tactile buttons, touchscreen. I need to test the speaker systems. So I think there's a DSi, or like a 3DS sound equivalent. Oh god, don't inundate me with menus. I don't have an SD card, but considering, like, I would usually combo this test on the DSi with an SD card slot test. Considering this thing's homebrewed, and I've even launched applications I had stored on my SD card, I have no reasons to suspect that card is faulty. And I mean, here, even me talking, it's responding to the microphone. I don't have a piece of music to play. I usually like putting a piece of music on my SD card so I can listen to it through both the speakers and through my earbuds. I'm just going to kind of have to improvise here. So let's just see if the microphone works. Turn up the volume. La 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 la! I'll just have to use my beautiful voice to check all the channels. Ooh, that's interesting. It might be possible this... Okay. I might have to clean out that headphone jack. When I plugged it in, it was still playing over the speakers, which was a little odd. But I kind of shifted it around and it evened out. So at least for that, I'll test it again, maybe after or if the battery tester plays a music, I can test it there. Because if it's going to be blaring a song, I'm going to be plugging in headphones so I don't have to listen to the damn thing. Cameras. So I'm not going to be looking for anything too fantastic, just do they boot and do they display an image? Wow, do these cameras look so much better than the DSi. Holy! And then I can turn on 3D. Oh. Wow, that's crazy. I don't care how old this technology is or how, like, frowned upon it is. I mean, the 3D on the 3DS was always, like, a pain point for some people. A lot of people just turn it off immediately. I always thought it was cool. I still think it's cool. Like, I'm just looking at it like, man, if my digital microscope had this, I would almost hate it a little less because I can have depth perception. But you need a special screen to view it. Let me do the inner camera, just kind of look at the same thing. See if my beautiful face has any artifacts on it, which it looks fine. Charge port. I don't know how similar it is to the DSi, but I mean, considering the battery's probably full, what I would do is jiggle around the charge port and see if it disconnects. But, I mean, since I already charged the battery full, it's going to be kind of hard. And I didn't really see anything too crazy. Like, it did kind of flicker a little. But I'm having to sort of... When I'm slowly sort of, like, rotating it in the socket, there's a tiny bit of play. That's not bad. It's staying on. What I would be looking for is if, like, if I were to get to the play that bends the port away from the board and it cuts out, that might suggest either a bad port or bad solder joints. That might be a little different on the 3DS, I think, because it's this entire assembly with these wireless, like, or this sort of, like, a wireless contact pads, essentially, where you clip it into a dock. I don't know if I still have my dock kicking around. If I had a dock. I feel like I did. I won't be testing that because I think that's a little too strange. Game card slot. SD card slot I've already proven. So here's where I'm going to be sort of trying to I've never actually done this on a 3DS, so I don't know how well this test will work. I'll slot in the game. Turn that down. And then, I mean... Oh, there's no play in this game card slot. Okay. So what I was testing for is to try and see if I could get that game card to disappear by either sort of like tapping the game card while it's in the slot. Like me just kind of like bumping it a little, like just pushing it in very slightly. Not enough to trigger it, which I did press it enough to trigger it on accident. But just enough to sort of like bump it. Seems to be fine, so game card slot's okay. And everything else seems to be okay too. The only other test I can think of is to test the there's like I don't know if it's like an IR emitter or something. You see it on the camera. Like it's weird that my overhead camera picks this up. I can't see that little pink light. I don't know if that's like an infrared light to track my face, because there's like an advanced 3D. I think it's the super stable 3D, and I can only get it through this 3D checker. Yeah, that's really strange that I can see that through my overhead camera. Oh, it's doing the 3D. Whoa, there it goes. And then I wanted this test where it shows the little person. So I just want to know, like, is it tracking me? And it is. It's not the most visible thing here. This is like the super stable 3D. Yeah, it's doing good. I'm moving my head. That image is still 3D. It's tracking me perfectly fine. It's not exactly the easiest thing to see on my overhead camera, but I don't want to, like... I need to hold it naturally. Which is unfortunately just a bad angle. Okay, I mean, that's all of the tests I can think of performing on this thing. Oh, is it not going to let me leave? Let me go. So I would say that this 3DS is done. I'm going to do a battery checker on it, and I think it's good to be sold. I think I'm finally to that point with this console. Very pleased, and I hope it can find a good home. And hopefully that battery tester is kind of intuitive, so I'm not having to waste battery life screwing around with it. May have to run it twice just for verification purposes. Alright, cool.